Hey, how's it going guys? I'm Ryuz and welcome back to my channel. I hope you are doing well. This week we're doing Susanoo. I think Susanoo is an interesting Shikigami. His gimmick is focusing on attacking Shikigami that has only one health left. It's very specific, but it's not that hard to do. I tried a bunch of builds, but I think this one is the most stable out of them all. And it's quite effective against poison decks. So let's get into the deck rundown, shall we? The playstyle of this deck focuses on buffing your attacker, that is Hitorima and Susanoo. First we need to use Kingyo's transformation to reduce the orb needed to do various things. Because once you activate Kingyo's transformation, she will just do her own thing. And you can focus on using Koi's Evolve to buff or reduce the death countdown of your Shikigami. This will let you play a bit more reckless with your attacker, which is very important in this meta that is full of control decks. And here's the card priority list. I think out of all 4 of these cards in the high priority, Koi's Evolve is the most important one, because that's the card that's going to make this deck hit really hard. Of course, you also want to have any of Kingyo's level 1 card to start her transformation. Hitorima's form will also make your opponent's life very difficult in early game because you can easily overpower them using this card in early game, especially if you manage to buff Hitorima early on using his own skill. As for Susanoo's Evolve, it is mainly to get him a permanent piercing keyword, which is going to help in late game when you want to use Hitorima's SSR. For the situational choice, it's your usual targeting stuff. You only want Susanoo's Thunder Cloud when facing a Shikigami that has high health like most of the purple Shikigami. But if you're fighting against other fast-paced deck, I don't really recommend getting this card in your hand. But Tail Whip is actually pretty important for Susanoo's setup. And this card only having 4 damage is actually perfect because most Shikigami that stays in the back row now only have 5 health, so after you snipe and buff your cards, you can use Susanoo to deal that piercing damage. And Heroic Hunt is just all kinds of useful for this deck because we deal a lot of piercing damage. And as for finisher, we have both Susanoo and Hitorima's SSR. We mainly want to use Susanoo SSR to get the opponent's health low enough so that we can finish them off with Hitorima. But if your Susanoo has high stats because of Koi's or Kingyo's buff, you can definitely use it to assault. I put Hitorima SSR here mainly as flex at first, but it works surprisingly well in matches, especially against poison Shikigami, just straight up kills them. This form basically obliterates anything that stands in its path, but you only want to put this form if you already evolve Susanoo, or when Koi already gives a piercing buff to it. Speaking of Koi, for Koi and Kingyo's SSR, I think you only need one of them for this build, because this build aims to end the game the moment we step to level 3. For Kingyo, however, if you want to bring one more SSR, you could do it, but for Koi, one is more than enough. Also, another note for Kingyo's card, most of the time you always want to activate her cards whenever you get the chance, because the more you buff Kingyo, the easier the games will be for you. And that's pretty much it for the deck rundown. It's a really simple deck if you don't really want to think too much, but you really need to be careful about focusing too much on buffing Hitorima that you forgot to defend. And yeah, that's it. Anyway, let's move on with the replays. Our first matchup is up against Poisoned, because I think most people are getting really annoyed by them because of their OTK potential. So in this match, I will show you how to deal with their gimmick. What's kind of surprising after fighting a lot of Poison deck is that you can deal with them the same way you deal with Onmyoji deck. You take out their Shikigami when they got a form, and just hit them hard once or twice. That way it's going to be very hard for them to make a comeback, because they cannot heal like Onmyoji. And if you don't need to attack, just don't let them hit you, because their Shikigami doesn't really have high stats. And usually our main strategy is to buff Hitorima by using multiple cards, but for this match you want to save the cards, especially the forms, because that will help a lot in killing their Shikigami. Also, one more advice when fighting against poison Shikigami: if they poison more than one of your Shikigami, try to find a way to kill at least one of that Shigemi. That way you will ruin their OTK setup. On their turn, they will evolve Kainin, poisoning our Koi. See, this is a very dangerous board state, but they did kill our Susanoo, so that saves us from wasting an orb trying to kill him. On our turn, we will evolve Koi, sheltering Hitorima's card. Then we fire off Tail Whip on Okiku, so we stop them from spreading more poison. We shelter Susanoo's card to reduce his countdown and pass. On their turn, they will just attack with Kainin and pass, probably expecting us to attack with our poison Shigami. On our turn, we will evolve Susanoo to get that permanent piercing keyword, then we activate Bubble Shield to shelter Susanoo's card. That also buffs Hitorima, even if we can't increase his health, as long as his attack is up, it's still good enough for us. On their turn, they will put Sasori as a blocker, then put Lone Ninja on Kainin. I guess they have enough cards to OTK next turn, so we need to stop them now. On our turn, we fire off our last Tail Whip on Kainin, leaving her with 1 health. That is the perfect moment to slash her with our Susanoo. Then we Heavenly Might their Mushishi and pass. If they cannot kill Susanoo on their turn, they will be dead once we get to our turn. On their turn, they put the level 1 form again on Okiku, then activate Poisonous Spit on Susanoo and pass. Well, they failed to kill Susanoo. We put Fiery Swordsman on Hitorima, we equip Heroic Hunt on Hitorima, then we obliterate the rest of their health by piercing their Mushishi. And that, my friend, is how you deal with poison deck using Hitorima aggro. Our second matchup is up against another take on Susanoo. This time I think they are focusing more on the piercing aspect because they are using Yamawaru and Momo to increase the attack. I think that deck has one glaring weakness, that is the downtime once a Shigami is defeated. They either have to constantly shelter a card or use a card to revive their attack. Well, this end is pretty much perfect. You always want at least 1 card to buff your Shigami, so just by getting Kingyo's spell as a starter is a huge head start. On their turn, they will activate Bubble Shield twice, buffing Momo and Yamawaru's card, it seems. On our turn, we activate Divine Realm, then assault with Hitorima. Kingyo will buff him before we pass. As long as they don't kill Hitorima, we can put Foolhardy Swordsman to recover his health. On their turn, they will activate Yamawaru combat card, then assault again, killing both of them. Well, that's a shame we can't stack our Hitorima, but we can still go on another route. On our turn, we activate our second Divine Realm, then assault with Koi. We are sacrificing her because we don't have any of her cards, and a 3-attack blocker is going to be very annoying for them. On their turn, they will take the bait and attack with Susanoo, then put Momo's level 2 form to heal Susanoo. And that is a pretty alternative art. I always like that form. On our turn, at first glance, buffing Kingyo might seem better, but Koi Sats boost is our main game plan, so we evolve Koi, buffing Foolhardy Swordsman, and putting that form on Hitorima, boosting his stats and pass. On their turn, they will also evolve Koi, buffing their Momo, and they will just assault with Susanoo, dealing 4 damage to us and pass. Very underwhelming turn. I thought they were going to do more than that. On our turn, we buff Kingyo's card. With there are fishes here. We drew another Koi evolved, so we use it to shelter our second copy of There Are Fishes Here. We activate that too, getting the +2 health buff and pass. I think this is more than enough to buff our Kingyo. On their turn, Yamawaru will finally revive. They will activate their second copy of Koi's Evolve, buffing Yamawaru, then smashing the rest of our Divine Realm and pass. At the start of our turn, Kingyo will buff Koi, and because Kingyo has 6+ attack, Hitorima form gain +3 attack. We activate Tail Whip on Yamawaru, then we activate Heavenly Might to turn their Yamawaru into Thunder Tomb. We are setting up for Hitorima Pierce turn, but we need to lower their health a bit more, so we attack with Hitorima to switch their position. On their turn, they will activate Healing Bubble to recover 4 health, then Assault with Koi to shelter another card. I think they messed up the sequence, but oh well, that's not my problem. At the start of our turn, Kingyo will humble them, bringing their health back to 9. Well, since we got a double level up, might as well we flex our own alternative art. Kingyo will smack them one more time. I can finish them off with Hitorima, but that would be no fun. So we equip Huracan on Susanoo, then hunt their Yamawaro, erasing the rest of their health. Well, that's all for today's video. I certainly hope you enjoyed it. Anyway, if you want to support my channel, I have Patreon and Ko-Fi links down below. And as usual, if you have any kind of feedback, leave it down in the comments and see you on the next video. Bye.